This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Where the Pac-12 joined the Big Ten in turning in their cards and saying, we're done with fall football. We'll plan for the spring. And the spring, by the way, is kind of silly. You're not going to have 2 seasons in one. You can get players to play because I saw the draft guys. Well, these guys aren't going to play. Yeah, the first 2 round guys aren't going to play. But guys that are in after round 3 and up, they want to improve their stock. So they got a shot at playing. They would play. Now, is it abusive to have 2 seasons in 1 year? Yes. It's actually in less than a calendar year you would be doing it. That would not be smart for the players, for the sport. It definitely would not be a good thing. But it's now, they were talking about how maybe the conferences would get together and do it in a uniform fashion, and that has not happened. The MAC did it, the SWAC did it. Now it's the Big Ten, now it's the Pac-12. ACC and Big 12 and SEC, they say they're moving forward, okay? Now, we still have several weeks to go. You know that 1,504 Americans died yesterday, right? Right? I mean, our priorities are screwed up in this world when there's more reaction, there's more disgust out of canceling football seasons than there is 168,000 dead Americans to COVID-19. And the worst part about all of this, it's not the virus. It's not that people are dying. It's that we get used to people dying and that we don't care that people are dying and that it becomes second nature. And it's part of the day. You're just lucky it's not you. I mean, really, that's kind of the impression I'm getting, that we care more about college football being canceled. And, I feel so bad for the players. Do you feel bad for the 168,000 families that have been affected by all the death? I'm wondering. Do you feel bad for the people that lost their careers, that lost their jobs, that lost their businesses? I'm just wondering. Oh, these poor kids, they work all their lives. And everybody works all their lives. Everybody's, suffering setbacks. I mean, give me a break, dude. Let's not make it sound like it's the worst thing in the world. I love football. Okay, I don't want college football to be canceled. I don't want the NFL to be canceled. Look, I just went through 4 months of no sports and having to do a sports show with no sports. Okay, you know how hard that is to talk sports when there isn't any sports going on? And we do it every single day during the pandemic. You think I want to go back to that? Hell no. But for months now, I've been telling you college football ain't going to happen. Not because I want it that way. It's because it's a pandemic. And I love these college coaches, right? They're so full of crap. They don't have all the students in campus yet. The parties aren't going on, and they're not actually hitting each other. Because I love all these. Well, we've had our students on campus for a couple of weeks now, and we've had no positives. Yeah? Are you hitting in practice, dude? No. So there's no contact. Oh, okay. Okay, so, all right. Are all the students on campus? Are the parties going on? No. Are you traveling? No. Oh, I see. You've got a kind of controlled environment. So now you're not having positive tests, and you think you can control this. A pandemic. You think you can control it. Let's hear from Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was obviously Chip Kelly with UCLA, right? And he obviously lost out on his season with UCLA, right? Here's Chip Kelly. He was asked about the cancellation of the season and how they go forward and his adjustment to all of this. Go ahead, Bill, please.
Coach, it's an election year. You have a vote, and the candidates were proceed with caution, postpone, or other. Which one did you vote for?
I think I voted for other, where there's a lot of uncertainty, and we're trying to figure out, do you have the right information? Our North Star that will guide us is the health and safety of the student athlete, and I think that's the decision that they ended up making.
Where are you on the argument that college football players are better in a structured college football environment as opposed to see you sometime in 2021?
I agree that they're better while they're on our campus. We have not had a positive test since July 7th, but I'm not sure when students come back on campus and if someone does have the virus, if our sport is something you should be playing. But I think in the environment, which is really bubble-esque, so to speak, our players have been good. And I know listening to other coaches around the country, their players have been good. That's why this is a tough pill to swallow.
What do you do now in terms of coaching staff, and team?
There's a lot of unknowns, and I think we're working through that right now from a scheduling standpoint. This was all thrown upon us, today. So we really need some guidance from the NCAA of what we're allowed to do.
What's your opinion on spring football? Should that become an option?
I think it's something that has to be looked into. I do not know if you can play a season in the spring of 21 and then come back and play in the fall of 21. Again, this was all kind of thrown at us today, so we have to kind of look it through and see where everybody is and how that can affect you. But I think it's intriguing, but the health and safety of the players has to be the determining factor of whether it can be pulled off or not.
And look, in a pandemic, it's going to be near impossible. Okay? I mean, we'll get to the Cleveland Indians situation, and that'll show you where we're at right now in this world. And it's weird how the MAC, right, and the whatever that other conference, Mountain West Conference, yeah, Mountain West Conference, they end up being the responsible ones here. Because they're the ones that actually said, they looked at it and they looked at the medical side of it and that whole enlarged heart thing. They don't want to deal with that. And I don't know if you guys caught the Arizona State president, but he was pretty blunt about it. It was pretty good because he goes, we have students that say they'll sign a waiver. He goes, but that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to take care of the health and welfare of our students. How would it set an example for us that we want to go out and play football and make the money and we don't care because we got our waiver? So whatever happens health-wise to that player, we're covered. How could we actually carry on that way? I thought that was incredibly responsible. I thought that was human. I just thought that was like, yeah, exactly. Because, somebody else, well, make them sign a waiver. Okay, but again, we're back to the I'm selfish. I want my entertainment. Screw you. Whatever happens to you, I don't care. Hey, you sign your waiver, too bad. And if he gets a heart condition, well, that's his problem. I don't care. I'm moving on to the next guy they recruit and the next guy they recruit because that's what fans do. You don't care. And I thought that was awesome because that's your job, okay? On the pro level, you have a collective bargaining agreement. You are a grown-ass man at that point. Now you can make your own decisions, and they're letting them. We have agreed. Anybody else that wants to opt out and doesn't want part of this agreement can opt out, and that's it. And nothing's held against you. But if you're in a university atmosphere, you cannot sacrifice your players because that's what you're doing. Now, That's what they're doing in the ACC, in the SEC, and the Big 12. Because while this is going on, the Pac-12 and the Big 10 actually did the responsible thing that you're supposed to do if you really care about your students. There is so much unknown that you cannot go into anything responsibly when it's all unknown. And I love the people, well, why don't you just take a chance? Do it. See if it works. And then what happens if somebody ends up developing problems? What happens if you kill a coach? What happens if a couple of kids develop an enlarged heart? So if it's only a couple, it's all right as long as football can continue, because that's kind of what we're doing in life. We got to continue, and hey, 168,000 people dead, so what? As long as it's not me, as long as it's not my family, I'm all right. We can move on. There is more disgust in us losing football than losing Americans. It's really weird, man, because it's not like I don't know how many of you sat back yesterday and saw that number that it skyrocketed to 1,504 Americans dead yesterday. I'm not sure how many of you actually sat back and it's like, wow. Yeah, the weekends, the Saturdays and Sundays were getting down to the 300s and the 400s. Then they started climbing back up to the 500s now. And now instead of the Saturdays and Sundays, their Sundays and Mondays now are the low days instead of Saturday and Sunday. Now Tuesday through Saturday, the numbers skyrocket. Saturday didn't reach 1,000. It was at 900 and something. But every other day was well over 1,200. And yesterday we went over 1,500. We had 5,000 something cases in Florida. We have 8,000 today. But no, you go ahead and listen to DeSantis. You just keep letting them feed you. Oh no, well we've got for months now he's been saying that there's been positive numbers. Oh, well we've got this trend going, and this is and it's like, are you watching? It gets worse and worse, dude. The death rate is going up. So the Pac-10 and the Big 10, the Pac-12 and the Big 10 did what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to cancel the season. You're not supposed to make your players sign waivers and sacrifice them so you can make your money. You've been doing enough of that for 100 years. You can lay off a year. But listen, if the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 want to look greedy, irresponsible, and despicable, they can continue. Let them go ahead. And if parents want to be dumb enough to allow their sons to actually play a game that's impossible to play in a pandemic, then go ahead. You can't listen to coaches and you can't listen to players. They don't have any logic. They're really, they're like cavemen. They are. I mean, watch Jim Harbaugh. If that's not a caveman, I've never seen one in my life. Jim Harbaugh belongs in a Geico commercial. Okay? It's just these Neanderthal coaches that all they do is eat, live, and breathe football. And they don't care about anything else. And it's almost, that's why they work 20 hours a day and never see their families. Because all they care about is football. I remember I had Roy Cummings on. He's been on our show a ton of times. He's been covering the Bucs for like 30 years. So he tells us a story about John Gruden. And Gruden's there, and he goes, yeah, it's one of my son's birthday. And so there's three of them standing about 20 yards away. So one of the reporters says, which son? He goes, the middle one. Like, he didn't even know his son's names, just like, it's just one of those deals. It's just, they live a life that is, there's very few of those guys that are actually really grounded. You know what I mean? That they actually understand and have some sense of humanity. You know what I mean? It's
priorities are screwed up in their life.
Totally. And then you have the football Neanderthal that really doesn't care about the kid. They just want the sport to play on. Who cares? If the kid blows out his knee, they'll get the next guy. That's it. If he gets arrested, they move on. If he goes to the draft, they move on. They don't care. That's the interesting part. A ton of those people that follow the SEC in the South and live and eat and breathe that like religion, it's not because they care about the players. They just care about the sport. They don't care what happens to any of these players. And clearly they don't care about 168,000 dead Americans. I mean, it really is amazing to me. And to watch all of this go on, and then to hear the ACC and the SEC, you know, and the Big 12, we're moving forward. Yeah, sure you are. Sure you are. Let the ignorance continue. I mean, the baseball can't control the coronavirus, and they have no contact, unless, of course, you've got a baseball coach instigating fights. We'll get to that one too.